Hello and welcome to Discussions with Michael. Today we're speaking with Chaotic Dad and Erik. Chaotic Dad, can you introduce yourself for us?
Hey, how's it going? I'm Chaotic Dad, also known as Daniel. I created a platform on TikTok where I try to have discussions and provide a space where people can deconstruct from whatever their journey is, whether it's religion or something personal or anything else really, and try to give that space where people don't have to feel alone in whatever journey they're taking. But I am a father of four, married and in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. Welcome. Erik, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name's Erik. I also do a live on TikTok called Chaos After Dark that I discuss and talk with. And mine's more debatey. I do a lot of debates where I bring up people also who have like professors in different subjects and have like people very educated and do multiple different topics from physics to evolution to biology, all these different topics. And I have a single father of one that I have a full-time daughter that lives with me. And that's the run of.
Welcome. So you guys are two parts of one group. What is this group called?
That's the Chaotic Crew.
The Chaotic Crew.
This one started stalking me shortly after I started my platform.
That's about right.
And that's right, yeah. And so from there, we clicked real well, had the similar vision and stuff, and then decided, he's kind of my ESPN too. We spun it off because there were some people that wanted to have some of the harder like debate style stuff. But yeah,
and that's not what your site is about.
No, but we wanted to kind of give a space for everybody.
Okay.
And the Chaotic Crew is what we would consider, and Erik would agree, family. It's the family that we've created because that's when we actually deal with the hard stuff, and we're there for each other when we need to be and when people need us. Mm-hmm. And so the Chaotic Crew is, as you know, as part of it, it's just a family. It's just people who are there for each other and have found space online where they can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Erik, what was it about Chaotic Dad's lives that got you interested?
So his lives weren't about the yelling and the harshness of it, and he was actually caring about other people. So it wasn't a case scenario that he brought people up and just let them go. He actually cared what people said, cared what other people thought. And so that is something different than a lot of places where they're just like, I just want to argue and that's it. And so, I mean, I like watching some of them that want to argue, but like, if you agree with me, don't come up. I just want people that are against me, and I want to try to get my numbers driven up. That's all I care about. And he didn't care about that. He actually cared about the people, and that's why.
Now, you've described this as a family. How does something like that come about in a place like on TikTok?
Well, I mean, I personally think we choose our family. Many people who've gone through some stuff that they share with Erik and I is tough, and oftentimes involve actually having to go no contact with their family, or being kicked out by their family, or being hurt by the family or something. And they need something to latch onto. They need someone or a community of some kind to help them through these tough times. And I mean, we as humans, right? We want that community. We're kind of communal type creatures. Right. And so that's what came about, is when people see the sincerity in Erik and see the sincerity in myself, and that we're not just the everyday debaters. That's something they latch onto, because you have family where you can have these discussions, but you still care about each other. And that's the root of it that we talk about. That I know with me, I talk about it being a former Christian, that I know I used to come from there, because right now you get a lot of people who are hurt by that just want to lash out at it, and they forget about the humanity of the person they're talking to. And that's the piece that he and I try to put back into it.
Yes.
And Chaotic Dad, I understand that you went through your own deconstruction process. How did you come about starting this on TikTok, and what was the original thought behind it?
My wife probably got tired of hearing me talk about it because she was never in that world. No, I'm kidding. I mean, to a point, I'm kidding, but at the same time, it was a case where, because she's comes from a Jewish line, but isn't practicing. Like she's not really into religion that much. She's a little bit spiritual, but not really into it. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm talking about all these things that we talk about online, about, you know, these feelings of guilt, the shame, the this, that, and, you know, the things we had to go to, having to go to church 25 times a week, you know, all these different things, it's just kind of like a glaze over. You know, people can only understand you to a certain point. I'll be a little odd in this case, since we're atheists. I'll still, there is a verse that still sticks with me from my days there, and it was Proverbs 14:10. Each heart knows its own bitterness, and no one else can share its joy. Mm-hmm. That's even more the case with somebody who hasn't been through what you've been through. Mm-hmm. And so I have been deconstructing for a little over 10 years. And during that time, my entire community around me was pretty much Christian, especially here in the South in Georgia. We know how that goes. Or even in Tennessee for Erik. We're in the Bible Belt. And so, and on top of that, me being from Guatemala and not actually really growing up here and being from another place, it's people, I'm even distanced even more from being able to relate to them. And so I felt very lonely in my process. I did grow from it all, but I realized, you know, this is a lonely process, and I didn't think there was that many people out there that felt that way as well. Mm-hmm. And so one day I finally got the nerve to post my first video. I think it was January 3rd or something, right after New Year's. And I posted my first video, and people seemed to click with it. And so I posted another and kept posting. And then finally I was like, you know, I'm going to try to go live. And I built up slowly to the 1,000 member mark to get the live, and was thinking maybe I'd get 50 followers, not even viewers, just 50 followers. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, I get stalkers like Chelsea and Erik, and they help push me. And y'all know Otter, of course, one of the best mods in the game, who was like, you know what? We believe in what you're doing. And Otter's like, you sound like crap, but I'm going to send you a microphone. Like, and it's these little things along the way that kind of boosted and made me realize there's a lot more out there that feel lonely, and not just their religious journey, but other journeys. And so they just want to be heard.
Yeah. So you're not just creating a community, you're co-creating it with the rest of the community.
Right.
Okay.
Well, so that's actually interesting you say that, because I was talking to Otter yesterday. Mm-hmm. And that's the interesting thing about it, is that when we show up in other rooms, it's not just about Erik or myself or Otter. People know who the Chaotic Crew is. Mm-hmm. Larger creators know who we are. Mm-hmm. And they know that we come in to show respect, and we know we come in to be intellectual, to be honest, to be genuine, and that we actually care. And so that to me is a big deal. Mm-hmm. And it really shows the work that Erik's done and I've done, and the others that have supported us.
Mm-hmm. Erik, what's the best part for you in doing your lives?
The teaching. I like that people can come in there and learn something new. I kind of wanted to focus that people who are deconstructing, who grew up in a really religious household, that they don't know some of these concepts, things from evolution to physics and all these things. And I got lucky to become friends with a lot of people that were very, very intelligent, where they're a lot more intelligent than me. And they're willing to come up there and discuss these topics. And they can listen to me discuss it with people who are still really religious. And so they can maybe hear what was their side of view and how it switched over. And so that they can sit there and say, hey, this is how I used to think things were. And this guy's discussing just the way I did. And now this guy's explaining why my views was wrong. And so that's really the essence of it.
Okay. Yeah. What's the most profound thing you've learned in doing this?
Most profound. You got one, Erik? I might need just a second, because there's been a lot of things. Honestly, it kind of still goes back to how many people out there actually need this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, not just the hearing, having somebody to hear their story, but somebody to also break down things the way Erik does. As much as Erik's a big softy and teddy bear, he does a great job of really breaking down information and helping somebody kind of get to it, get to an understanding of it. And obviously there's people that just will never get there, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I come from a place where I'm the missionary, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I can speak the message, but I'm a practical person, and I'm an experiential person. I've traveled the world. I've seen things that other people have experienced, and so I can connect with them in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Erik's brilliant. His research, the stuff that he knows is fantastic, and he can really break that down. Mm-hmm. And so it's great to come from those two perspectives. But the biggest revelation is how much people need this, and honestly, how much people like some of the strangest things people believe. Right, Erik? Like, it's wild. It's wild.
Oh, yeah.
The stories we get is amazing. So that some of the revelations, for me, has to do with just the need for it.
Yeah. So Erik is kind of like the smart person whisperer.
Hey, well, now I've got some brains in me too, but
well, you're the people whisperer. Erik is the smart people whisperer.
No. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing. Well, but Erik's also so approachable with it, and he doesn't make people feel stupid. So, as a whole, we are both very personable, and that's a wonderful thing. And we just break things down from different perspectives, which is what people need. Certain people need what Erik has and what the way he presents it. Mm-hmm. Other people need bad dad jokes. Mm-hmm. The way I present it. So it's just a different route.
Absolutely. The way when I teach students, I will tell them, don't just come to me for your learning. Go to this teacher, this teacher, this teacher, this teacher. Get all of that experience and take what you need from each one of them and throw away what you don't from the other. And that's what's so interesting about what you guys do on your separate but together tied in platforms. Yeah. So you said that there's some kind of wacky beliefs out there. What would you like to share? Any of those?
Oh, where do we start, Erik? Well, you go ahead. What you got?
Oh, I'd be here all day doing it. I had one person that told me that there was 9 dimensions, and on one dimension there's one atom. Within that one atom, there's 9 atoms inside that one atom that exist. I've had everything. One of my more favorite stories is I was talking about LGBTQ. That someone said, being gay isn't a natural thing. I said, hey, there's 1,500 different animals that have been shown to be LGBTQ and that are gay or all that. And they go, well, no, that's not natural. I said, how's that not natural? It's demons. I go, demons? He goes, yes. Everything that's gay is demons. And I go, so those penguins that are gay, they're demons. He goes, oh, yes, they got demons in them. So I go, yeah, I want all the gay penguins. All of them, I wish I had them.
Nothing like demonic gay penguins.
Demonic gay penguins. So those are 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Shoot. So when I first started, one of my first lives, this one lady was loving the way I was approaching it and stuff. And then she told me I was a starseed.
Oh, I remember that.
I was like, what the hell is that? Now, she sort of explained it to me, but then later on I asked somebody else who had come up on my live and who was kind of into that stuff. And I had all these people starting to explain to me that in essence, I don't have a good way to explain it, but in essence, I think I come from the stars, and supposedly in the next few years, I'm supposed to develop some sort of superpower. But as a Marvel nerd and as a DC fan and all, like, comic book fan. I'm like, sweet. Now, I hope it's a useful one and not something totally ridiculous like Kite
Right.
Man and Quinn series. But yeah, we'll see that. I mean, that was one. The other story was someone who claimed they watched a limb grow back in the hospital with the doctors, mind you.
Yeah.
And not one person whipped out their smartphone to record it, but that was their proof of God. And I was like, I'm like, a limb, like Deadpool style. And they're like, yeah. I'm like,
Wow.
I don't even know what to do with that. And that's just Erik watches. This is just the surface of what we hear, right? This is just a few of them.
I could be doing this all day. We'd be sitting there talking about the crazy things. I hear them almost daily.
Oh yeah.
So I understand that the goal is not necessarily to convince people of any one thing or another, right?
Sort of.
Well,
with Erik, I would say when it comes to education, I do think there's a level of trying to convince, because when it comes to facts, things that have been proven, it's kind of like, look, we can show you the facts versus just have faith. You know, as we know, those are two very different things. So with him, I do think there is a level of trying to educate and convince. I do think with me, it's a little bit different. I can go into that if you want, but yeah, you can continue the question if you want.
Yeah. What is, in thinking about that, what is the best part about talking with someone and seeing it click with them?
Oh yeah. It depends who you're talking to.
Frozen for a second. All right, frozen.
Yeah,
so
go ahead, Erik.
I think the best time I ever had where it clicked, it was I had someone click on the LGBTQ, and so what happened is that I was discussing with someone and they didn't understand trans. They didn't understand what it was, and they didn't understand how it went. And I had someone that was up there that was trans, and we were talking, and we're like, hey, like, do you ever have the feeling like when you were young that you were just like attracted to girls and all? And he's like, yeah, I remember when I was little chasing them. And this person finally says, so when I was a little kid, I always felt like a girl. Ever since I was born, always played with girl stuff. Did not even understand why I had to go to the boys' restroom. Never made sense to me. And the guy actually clicked in his mind that people have different views and ideas on what they want. And you could tell it never really clicked in it, because he's just always like, ew, I don't understand it. It was nasty. And you could see him like, this is a concept I'm not familiar with. And I don't know if he changed, but it definitely made him think. And if you get one person who changes their mind and becomes a better person, then it was worth it.
Right. Well, and that's kind of, it leads to them being a better person. But the best part about that one moment where it clicks is in my space, it's, they have this sense of relief oftentimes. Since I deal with not just deconstructing from religion, but other stuff, it's that sense of, okay, I'm not crazy. You're right. This makes sense. I thought I'd been lied to, or I thought this was bad, this bad for me, but I couldn't figure out how to get out of it. And they can start to see a path forward. And to see that sense of relief from someone, to feel it from them, where they're like, I am not alone. And they can start to let go of some of the guilt. They can start to let go of some of the shame and things like that. Those are the things that I live for on that. And really make it all worth it. Just like when they click about understanding something like Erik's describing, it's like that moment where there's like, this world is bigger than I realized. So it's just, that's always been a thing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Even outside of TikTok, when I used to take people, like even my mother-in-law back in the day, took her overseas for the first time, or brought people down to Guatemala, and them seeing something completely different and just seeing that the world is bigger than what they thought it was.
Right, right. The reason I'm going down this line of questioning is because I want to get into the importance, and I want it to be shown the importance of what you guys do for people and for yourselves, because it's such a profound thing to take a look at yourself and say, this belief is wrong, or is it wrong, or what is this? What is this new questioning that I have? Why do I keep, having this?
Right.
And that's such a beautiful thing to be able to go to someone and say, hey, I've got this thing. Can you help me? And you guys are in a position to be able to do that. And that's such a beautiful thing. Erik, what is, would you like to share your personal deconstruction journey?
Yeah. Yeah, well, mine's pretty simple. So I was raised Roman Catholic, and I basically, around the age of 13, I started seeing that people growing up as a Roman Catholic in the South is it's about as common as an atheist. And they would go and they would put little pamphlets in our windows saying, like, you're going to burn in hell, that you're evil and all these things. And that started making me draw the question, like, why would Christians be putting this on other Christians' things? Because I didn't understand these different concepts of different ideas. And it started making me bring up the question that doesn't God care more about the deeds instead of how you worship them? And it started making me like read the Bible. It started me asking, like, is it better to be a good man and be an atheist than be an evil man but worship God? And so probably around 13, 14, I just was finally like, this ain't making sense. This ain't adding up. That why would a God that's all loving care more about how you worship and that you worship him than if you're being a good person helping others? And kind of separate from there. So that's when I originally left religion.
What was that like for you to go through that questioning?
I think I got lucky because I did it at such a young age that it kind of was just like, I just didn't really say anything to anybody because I was in school and all this, but I was just like, yeah, I mean, I was even an altar server boy at the time, but I just, in my head, is like, none of this makes sense, but I'm going to do it so that I can be part of the community and all this stuff, but it doesn't make any sense to me. At least I can help people some. And that's really where I went with it. And then by the time I was 18, once I left home and all, I was more outspoken about it. But
did you get any pushback from family or friends or anything like that when you started talking about it?
They're more just, I don't try to convince them. And I mean, they know I'm an atheist, but it's one of those questions, like even my daughter who's 15, I don't talk about religion much. Like I might bring up a small thing here and there, but like my mother, she still believes in a God, but I don't like sit there and push her on it. It's just, she's just, hey, you got your beliefs, I got mine. And I said that I'm okay with that. Okay. As long as you're not pushing and saying evil things, then I'm fine with that.
And Chaotic Dad, how about you? Your journey?
My journey, my journey is probably a little more complicated than that. Born and raised in Central America in Guatemala. My parents were missionaries for 45 years overseas. So we were in the thick of it. And I was as dedicated as could be, baptized at 10. I was translating for mission teams as far back as I can remember, was like 7 or 8 years old. And so I was in the thick of it. I was extremely dedicated. I was going on mission trips on my own, separate from my parents, when I was 16. I was doing, that was Bolivia, Mexico, and then even after that, did more stuff. When I got into college, I was responsible for starting basically a mission program that was run by the college students. And that included trips to Kenya, to Guatemala and to Indonesia, multiple trips to Guatemala. But so I was really dedicated into it. And then as I continued to grow, so for the first 30 years of my life, that was what it was about, 30-ish. I always refer to it as ish years because there's this period of time when you start to deconstruct that you still are kind of holding on to some things, still trying to unwind it, and then so forth. And for me, after about 30-ish years, I had started a family. But during those last 10-ish years of my belief, I was really like trying to strengthen my relationship with God, strengthen it with Jesus, and build it and do what I feel like I was, called to do, as they say. But I also know that I always felt like I was falling short for some reason because my father had been called to be a pastor at age 9, had been called, and then that got an upgrade at 11. He was called to be a missionary. And that's exactly what he did. And, and in that world, everybody talks about their calling, what they're going to do. And so I go these 30 plus years just fighting, trying to find my calling, not really feeling like I heard God's voice, even though I have instances where I think I did. The more I look back at it, it was just, feelings.
Right.
But during that time, the more I dug into the scripture, the more I dug into studying it, it stopped making sense. And then when I became a father, it made even less sense. Because when we create life and we are now responsible for life, I look at it as like, okay, what is my responsibility to this life that I've created? And when I lined it up with how we were taught God created life and how God tried to educate us and lead us through, and then supposed to bring us back to him. And if not, we go to hell, but that's, depending on which denomination you ask. But those things just stopped making sense, that a loving, caring God, the one that I'd been taught was our Father, was actually a good person. When you look at the scripture, look at what was done, and even the concept of hell alone, forget everything else, didn't make sense to me because nothing I could do or nothing my kids could do would make me want to send them to some sort of eternal punishment. That's the part where I really, really broke apart. I mean, there's tons of stories in between there, but that's the gist of it.
That you talked about that moment where you're kind of inside, but looking outwards. What does that do psychologically? That mindset.
So the best analogy I've ever come up with is having like a tree growing out of you. And you're at this point where you realize something's wrong with this tree and you don't want it there anymore. And so you rip it out, but the roots of, depending on how long you've had that tree there, for me, it was 30 plus years. Depending on how long you've had that tree there, when you rip it out, it takes out a chunk of you. And I apologize for the dogs there. Must be a delivery guy. But when you rip out this tree, it takes out a big part of you, and you have to then start to rebuild it. But that part of you is your community, is your even your belief system, core of who you are. And so what it does to you is you end up very confused. You still hold on to subconsciously these feelings of guilt and shame because you've been taught all your life that even questioning was a bad thing. You've been taught all your life that you're a born sinner, right? And so it's this constant struggle. It tears apart at your confidence. It tears apart your identity, your community, and everything around you. And so that process is tough, and it does affect you mentally, especially when you don't have anybody else that's going through it with you.
Right. One of the concepts that I like to put out there for people is what you're saying about finding your calling, finding your purpose. And that feeling of just, it's not coming. It's not, I'm not getting what it's supposed to be. But the thing is that what happened when you sat down and you created your purpose.
That changed everything, because at that point, when I realized I could create my own purpose, mm-hmm. instead of having to get my purpose externally, mm-hmm. now I felt more fulfilled as who I was. Mm-hmm. I still had a lot of work to do on building that and growing, and that's the new tree that you grow, right? The new you that you grow out of that. You start to fill in that hole with new dirt. And sometimes you use the wrong kind of soil, and you got to dig that back out and do it again. But it's a much better feeling, and you feel lighter, realizing that now you have control and you're actually fulfilled, and you're not waiting on something else to move you through life.
Mm-hmm. Erik, do you have a moment like that?
Not the exact same, because I deconstructed so early that, my moment of fulfillment, I guess, came after I was an atheist, but I've had different moments where my goals, what I had probably 10 years ago, are completely different than, or even 12 years ago, probably. I had a situation that altered my life in a way that I've altered the way I thought. That'd probably be the closest.
Okay. Now, you, I understand, used to teach Norse paganism. How did you get into that?
So in 2012, I actually went to prison. And while in prison, I started reading a lot of different religious texts. I actually went with a group that actually used to practice Norse pagans, and I got all the literature that they had and read everything that they had. And so from there, I read all the lays and sagas, and I would go in there every Sunday and do an hour and a half class teaching what it means. And then I'd do interpretations to try to help them live better lives and use that as a way of getting to people. And I spent about 7 years teaching it in there, helping people understand what it's saying, helping people understand the text. I memorized all of the lore and then teach individuals at least an hour, between an hour and a half and 3 hours every week.
Okay. So. Now, that's interesting, because you have, we're all ex-Christians. You have that mindset where Christianity, Jesus, God is the only thing that can pull you through what you're going through. But you took a different route, and you took it with Norse mythology, or Norse paganism, I should say. Why did you choose it?
It's more subjective. I think it reaches more people better because people can look at these and understand that these are stories. And instead of saying they're like, you have to believe it this exact way and this is it, you can look at stories and be like, these are just tales to try to make you live better. That's it. There's no truth in the creation story that in Norse mythology. You can be an atheist and just be like, none of that stuff is real, but it represents things in your own mind, and you can use this to become a better human being. And that's it. And that's why it was more, to me, important than saying you have to believe this or you're evil, you're going. Instead, it was like these tales reach people in their heart in a way that they don't need it to be true, and they don't care if it's true. They just believe, hey, these are morals that I align with, and this is the stories that from these morals I can become better, and that's all I care about.
Now, kind of looking at it through a different lens, would you be able to take the teachings of, say, Jesus and do the same thing without the dogma of going to hell and evil and all that kind of thing?
You can. The problem is the luggage with it.
Okay.
Right. That's so. Well, I can actually say there's actually Christians who do believe that there is that everyone will go. It's a loving father. The concept that I was talking about as myself, that I would never punish him. And so there are some. Now it's a smaller group, but to what Erik said, it comes with a lot of baggage. And when you try to use something like that, and the world is sending a bunch of other confusing messages that go along with it, it's really hard to use it in an effective way, the way Erik did with the Norse pagan stuff.
Yeah, I think there's the distinction between the two, and that's just two religions.
Right.
Is so different, but profoundly effective in one way over the other.
All right.
And I think that's fascinating.
Well, so what's interesting is that's the piece that you be careful. We actually, as an example, my ex-wife and I, when we were leading a Bible study once, we actually used the show Lost to teach things. And so to Erik's point, you can use just about anything to pass whatever message you want, but it is definitely, obviously Lost didn't come with a bunch of baggage. Lost didn't have a bunch of extra things, but we were able to kind of use it in that way. So yeah, that one wasn't, looking back now, I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Not to mention it ended horribly. So that's a whole different story.
Right. So we've gotten a little bit into how these things, with TikTok got started and what you're doing with them now. Where do you see this going?
I guess as the father of the group, for me, I want to continue to. I will admit that there are moments, especially as we learn, and I think Erik would agree with this, is as we learn how to do this, because neither of us came into this thinking we were going to do the smash the like button, subscribe, all that, the YouTube stuff. We have to. I've learned that I have to hold on to the message that we're trying to do. Not get distracted by it. There's a lot of stuff that just happened at many different points in time that can derail what we're actually trying to do for people. And so the way I see it is I really foresee just continuing to provide that support. The moments where we've had the most growth, the most effectiveness, had nothing to do with us trying to, okay, let's create this bigger platform. Let's do all this other extra stuff, because then we get lost and lose some of the connection with the humanity of what we're trying to do. And so I right now I foresee it just continuing to try to build it organically, to continue to educate what Erik does, to connect the way we both do. And we're already seeing the results of that, and tackling what one of my bigger visions actually came yesterday in my live. My live yesterday had to do with tackling racism, and it had to do with some drama that happened with the group a while back. But when I came up with the concept of face the chaos, I was like, we want to do things differently than what everybody else is doing and what society has been doing. And we want to actually face these topics. We want to face people's problems and not just brush them under the rug, not just give them the same padded answers, and actually try to help people heal and have the safe spaces. And I hope that we can continue to tackle these hard things. Erik's already been doing some of that with some of the topics he's done, but I want to step that up and take it from not just the education piece, but the actual, okay, how do we deal with this? With the racism thing, you have a white cis, man, talking to a bunch of people from the BIPOC community and actually asking questions and saying, look, I don't know everything. I don't mean to be, racist. I know others don't mean to be. So let's educate me and let's face these topics head on, as opposed to doing what every other person does. And it's like, well, I'm sorry for saying this, and then ignoring it. Let's hit it head on and realize that we are all human in it. And so that's the path I want to do. I want to continue to tackle the tough situations and tough topics.
Erik, where do you see or want to see things going?
So with my live, I try to keep it at every Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. to whenever I get done, which I've been able to maintain somewhat good because I feel that it gives people the ability to come on it every night and listen to a different topic.
Mm-hmm.
That way, if you don't like a topic for one night, you can come the next night. If
Mm-hmm.
you some nights I have more debatey, some nights I just teach. Like I had a couple nights ago was just teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I really would like to keep it running almost like a show that helps people. Not a
Mm-hmm.
show like drama, but
Right.
and every night I have a new person up that is educated on a topic, brings up the topic. We discuss the topic. People come on up who want to discuss it, debate it,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's how we would go every night.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that educates people really well because they can see both sides and discuss and hear the questions. At the same time, they have multiple access to all kinds of really cool things.
Mm-hmm.
Because like when you have a professor of physics is up there discussing the Big Bang, that's something like I can't do. I'm not a professor of physics,
Right.
but when they're willing to give their time, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Erik, 60 Minutes. I'm Dr. Phil.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm the 60 Minutes. I'm the guy who debates it and all. Yeah,
Well,
you're going to learn something new.
So that's the thing is that that's a great part about Erik's platform is he's able to have that consistent time.
Mm-hmm.
One of my original visions that I have to kind of put on the back burner was to have this as a more permanent role for both of us, honestly, and replace even my current job. But
Mm-hmm.
realized and having that too far in the forefront of my vision was clouding the actual purpose of why I was doing it to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
If it becomes that, great. If it doesn't, and we help just one person, like Erik said,
Mm-hmm.
great. We've the thing that atheists or that Christians have asked all of us, well, how can you have a purpose? What's your purpose if you don't have God? Well, my purpose that I've always told them is that I want to leave this world in a more positive space than it was when I got here.
Mm-hmm.
And by helping 1, 2, 3 people,
Mm-hmm.
we do that. And we'll continue to do that. And so I have to put that piece on the back burner. I appreciate that Erik can do it every night.
Mm-hmm.
I do it during the day, kind of duplicating it since I work remote.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't always keep as consistent of a schedule, but
Right.
that's okay.
Yeah.
I try to remind myself there's people at different times that need help at different times. So it is what it is.
And you need your space as well.
Right. Well, and one day maybe it'll be something else. And that's actually a good point. Erik, I think with his being more educational isn't always as emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So I will admit that I do need the break from time to time because taking on the emotional side is heavy. It's heavy. And if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of others.
Right. Do you guys see what you guys do happening in a in-person venue at any point?
It would be nice. I mean, yeah, that would be cool. Hey, you know what? Somebody want to sponsor that? I'll do that all day long. I mean, Dr. Phil's got to retire at some point.
That's true.
Well, I mean, we are kind of getting a taste of it coming up, or I'm working on putting stuff together for the October 14th and 15th in Atlanta for the Pride stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Saturday. What's that?
Let's promote that.
Yeah. So October 14th, 15th, we're getting the Chaotic Crew together, anybody who can, in Atlanta for the Pride stuff. So I'm still working on the full details. One of the ideas for Saturday that I'm working on putting together, besides a possible pickleball with dad camp, just to hang out, but a time to set aside like 3 to 4 hours, maybe rent a space somewhere where we can have kind of a live show almost.
Okay.
Interview people who come, hang out, talk, just kind of like a impromptu podcast sort of thing. And so these people that we talk to in the box all the time, these people that are in our comment section all the time, to be able to put a face with them, to be able to have them there in front of us and let them show what the platform has done for them, what other Chaotic crew members have done for them. And people are excited about it. I know it may or may not have a big group, but we have folks like Sorrels, who has never flown on a plane, who's going to fly for the first time to come to it.
Wow.
And I met LG, was it Godspell for Jesus, whatnot, the first time the other night. And immediately they were like, I'm coming.
Nice.
And so we Erik and I have met once. We did the aquarium together with our kids.
Okay.
That's about as close as we've got. But it's exciting to be able to do something in person, to show the connection, and then who knows what happens after that.
That's true.
Do you think that Noodle might take over one day?
Well, I don't know that this type of conversation is her sort of thing. No, Noodle enjoys it some to a point, but this isn't really her forte. Of course, she's still just, in her teens. And so this is the least of her. She's too busy crocheting her spider hats, right?
Yeah.
She's looking forward to meeting the group. For the October event, she's going to be here. I think Jade is coming.
Yeah,
right.
Jade's coming.
Jade's coming. And some of my other kids are coming. My ex-wife plans to be there on Sunday.
Okay.
My wife will be there for part of that too. And so you get to meet Chaotic Dad's family.
All right.
And for those that are already part of the family as well, by extension.
Cool. That sounds like an exciting thing. And I do hope that turns into something more as far as being an in-person format.
Right.
So do you guys have so Chaotic Dad? If you search Chaotic Dad on TikTok, you'll be able to find you.
You should be able to. The username, of course, is @chaotic_dad.
Okay.
Quickly, if you search Chaotic Dad, you should find me.
Okay. And Erik, what's yours?
Just Erik, ERIK.
Okay.
If you should probably look up just Erik with the K like that, and usually mine pops up. So
Okay.
Just look for the majestic beard.
Yeah.
If you search cuddly leprechaun, that's probably you'll get Erik. It's
that might be true.
I might search it just for the fun of it.
we need to get the crew to, on all of your videos, just go in and comment cuddly leprechaun, and it'll start making that your default search to find him.
That's about to happen to me now.
You're screwed now. Okay, guys, thank you so much for coming and talking with me. I respect and love everything that you guys do. The community that you've built is so good to each other, and I want people to know that. I want people to feel that love that they may not get from their church or their family or their people. It is out there, and these two people are a few that are making it happen. So is there anything else that we need to promote?
I do think we need to give a shout out to folks like Otter.
Otter, yes.
Who is an amazing mod who sent me the microphone to start this whole mess that now y'all have to hear me in a much clearer voice. Mm-hmm. But the crew as a whole, because we even have the joke about sending up the bat signal when somebody's in trouble. We've had moments where different people will message me, Erik or somebody else, and we will hop into their lives to just try to show support or to help guide somebody through it and whatnot. And like, just a shout out to them, because that's what it's about. Most people get on there, they keep scrolling, they'll go to a debate, they'll enjoy the chaos that debate is, and then move on. Mm-hmm. The Chaotic crew is active and actually trying to support each other. Mm-hmm. And as crazy as it is, I turned 45 this week, and I had some 20-year-old yesterday go nuts because I showed up in his comment section. Mm-hmm. She was happy about what we do as a group, and so just to have those moments to realize we're making some sort of change is amazing.
It's beautiful. It's quite astonishing what you've been able to accomplish.
I even want to shout out for all the people who have actually helped me co-host too. That's a really big deal that they're willing to spend time to actually, some of them come with PowerPoints, like Chapter, J Mike.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. Atheist Cats. I have had Phoebe. I've had RC. I've had all these people who actually have degrees, who are really, really, really intelligent on these subjects, to give up a day, then come in at 8:00 at night and stay up with me and discuss these topics that they choose. And they bring, I've had J Mike do a whole PowerPoint presentation. Chapter did a 30-something page PowerPoint for me Thursday with questions and everything. So the ability to come in, and do that schedule, I appreciate every single one of the co-hosts, because there's too many of them to discuss.
Right. Well, and I did leave off one name. I had to throw like Chelsea and others who have helped.
Yes, Chelsea.
With all sorts of stuff, and between just supporting us, it's just really amazing. And like I said, it's not just that people get excited when Erik or I show up; they get excited when the rest of the crew shows up. And so, because they know what we're about, and that's, to me, just mind blowing. That you have, I don't consider us large accounts at all. Erik and I do not have large accounts compared to many of those in the community, but yet the impact that the people that come to us have made on others is rewarding.
Right. That's far more important than the numbers.
You're right. Exactly.
Yeah. Again, thank you guys for coming and having a conversation with me. We really appreciate you. And if there's anything that I can do for you guys, and I'm able to, just let me know.
I mean, my yard needs cutting, but I think I can handle that.
Okay.
I just needed to stop raining and dry out a little bit first, but other than that.
Right. Thanks again.